pilots and their aircraft, which were in short supply, were not wasted on endless searches for the enemy above the channel of the southeast coast of England. And it meant that valuable resources, such as fuel aircraft at night or above cloud, and as faster aircraft came into service, it became obvious that a position plotted by cell location was often far behind the aircraft's actual position. In 1935, the National Physical Laboratory was asked
Less than 9 months later, Germany was on the very brink of victory, and World War II was nearly over. Well-trained, fully equipped and highly motivated, the German military machine rolled over mainland Europe. Poland, Denmark, Norway, the Low Countries, and France all fell. The world can explain. In the early summer of 1940, on the far shores of the English Channel, Germany paused. Across the water lay Britain. Mauled by the fighting in Europe, humiliated by retreat from Dunkirk, her forces were ill-equipped to fight off a German invasion. Yet if the free world were to rally and liberate Europe, Britain would be their only foothold. Her survival was no longer just a matter of national pride. It was the only real hope for victory. Just one effective defense now stood between Germany's invasion force and the poorly protected beaches of southern England: the fighter aircraft of the Royal Air Force. No military commander would ever attempt a seaborne assault without complete control of the skies. So as Hitler put the finishing touches to Operation Sea Lion, his plans for the invasion of Britain, Germany's invincible air force, the Luftwaffe, prepared for their next victory.
What General Hendon had called the Battle of France is over. The Battle of Britain is about to begin.
Around the rim of northern Europe, from Norway to the Atlantic coast of France, the Luftwaffe had over 1,500 bomber aircraft and nearly 1,000 fighter planes to protect them. Around Britain, the Royal Air Force had barely 750 fighters to stave off the impending German attack. However, while the German bombers could strike anywhere, their fighter escort, the Messerschmitt 109, only had enough fuel to fly and fight in the skies over southeast England. It was here that the forthcoming battle would be won or lost, and the brunt of the fighting would fall to the men and women defending it. The RAF knew that to stand any chance of survival, they had to locate the incoming German aircraft as quickly as possible, and then coordinate their limited forces to intercept and destroy. If they could just hold out until autumn, the failing weather and changing tides would make it impossible for the enemy to launch their invasion fleet, and and Operation Sea Lion would have to be postponed. Crucially, the RAF had a new secret weapon that gave them a slim chance of doing just that. Radio detection and ranging. Radar. Across airfields on both sides of the channel, young men and women prepared to fight. For the German pilots, crews and mechanics, it was business as usual. None of them relished a war with Britain, but few of them doubted the inevitable success of their campaign. The Luftwaffe had already destroyed every other air force which dared oppose them. The conquest of the RAF was next. As June turned into July, desperate attempts were made to get the already battle-scarred British fighter squadrons up to full strength. Aircraft production was increased, and pilots from the Commonwealth, North America, and occupied Europe joined the fight. But what couldn't be replaced was combat experience. Those who survived long enough to get it would be heroes. Those who didn't would be dead. In observer corps, lookout posts, and radar stations dotted all along the English coast, tired eyes watched for the first signs of attack. This unique, integrated locating system would give the RAF fighter controllers vital early warning of a large-scale German attack. If the Allied pilots were to reach the bombers before they attacked their targets, a quick response was vital. As any German hopes of negotiated peace finally disappeared, the Battle of Britain escalated rapidly. From small-scale attacks on British shipping in the Channel, Reich Marshal Göring, the commander of the Luftwaffe, soon realized that to dominate the skies, they would have to blind the RAF. He ordered his dive bombers to destroy the radar stations. These early raids suffered dreadful German losses, but seemed destined to obliterate the defense system Britain was relying on for her survival. However, just as the radar network was on its knees, Göring ordered his bombers away from these sites and onto the RAF's airfields scattered across Kent and Sussex. It was their first mistake. As the summer days lengthened, the RAF personnel on those now battered and cratered airfields were losing the battle to patch them up and keep them operational. However, as the blue skies of mid-August became riddled with smoke trails and incessant dogfights, the Luftwaffe were flying high. Adler Tag, Eagle Day, marked the start of the final five-week countdown. The Germans were more confident than ever that the RAF would be completely destroyed by then. All over southern England, mechanics fought a desperate battle to keep their fighter planes airworthy. Battle-weary, with more and more inexperienced pilots having to fly, the RAF were now losing as many planes as the Luftwaffe. But while broken aircraft could be replaced, experienced pilots could not. It was a brutal war of attrition, with a larger force certain to win. As frightened young men in cramped cockpits dueled to the death over green fields, below, a nation prepared to defend its homes. It seemed that nothing but a miracle or an early winter would save Britain. In fact, it was neither. Germany now made a second crucial mistake. One cloudy night in late August, a small raid by RAF bombers on scattered targets in Germany included Berlin. One garden shed was destroyed. 2 people were injured. But Hitler was furious over the attack on his capital. He demanded the German Air Force turn its attention away from Britain's struggling and failing defences to a full-scale bombing campaign against London, and the other major cities. It was the beginnings of the Blitz. Huge fires in and around the docklands of London's East End were visible for over 80 miles as night after night bombs rained down on the city. But although the homes and factories of London were badly damaged, ultimately the bombing failed. The collapse in morale never happened, and for a tired and weary RAF, it was the vital breathing space in which to recover. Now, slowly, above the channel, the tide began to turn. The RAF seized this opportunity to re-equip with both hands. Aircraft production lines were running 24 hours a day, and with defense tactics and technology steadily improving, the life expectancy of a pilot was getting better all the time. If the invasion was to take place in 1940, the Luftwaffe had to defeat the RAF by the middle of September. On the 15th of September, the skies over Britain blackened with over 200 German bombers, accompanied by 4 times as many Messerschmitts. Could this be the supreme effort needed? Would the Germans finally sweep the RAF from the skies? By the end of the day, 60 Luftwaffe aircraft had been shot down for the loss of just 13 British fighters. The fields of southern England were littered with the wreckage of the bodies of a once invincible air force. Hitler finally admitted defeat and postponed his invasion plans. If Britain could not be beaten in 1940, then she would have to be contained until the Soviet Union had been conquered in the East. In December 1941, America, always sympathetic to the Allied cause, finally entered the war. Britain, still free from Nazi-dominated Europe, became a bridge across which the liberating forces finally poured into France and onto victory. A victory celebrated around the world by millions, but a victory won in no small part by the heroic handful of men and women in the RAF who fought and died under summer skies.
Never in the field of human combat was so much over by so many to so few. Let us therefore brace ourselves for the future. So bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their fighting hour.
Welcome aboard this Sunderland flying boat. Your tour begins shortly. Please mind your head. The Sunderland was a long-range anti-submarine patrol aircraft. In this forward section, underneath the gun turret at the front, is the bomb aimer's window. Further back, on both sides, you can see 4.303 caliber Browning machine guns. These were fired by the pilot, usually to keep enemy gunners' heads down. Between them, you can see the anchor with its chain and winch. Remember, flying boats operate from water, not land. Sunderland patrols often lasted for more than 12 hours, so some home comforts were necessary, including a toilet. Go towards the rear of the aircraft, through the narrow doorway and down 2 steps. Again, we remind you to mind your head. Stop when you next hear my voice. You are now in the crew rest area, with its 2 bunk seats and folding table. During their long patrols, this is where the crew members, in shifts, would rest and eat. Move on through the next area, the galley, where food was prepared. Look out for the compact black paraffin stove with its small oven. The ladder leads to the upper deck crew positions where you can see the flight engineer seat. Please walk on, stopping when you next hear my voice. You're now in the bomb compartment. High on both sides you can see the bomb racks where up to 1 ton of bombs, depth charges or mines could be carried on each patrol. The bombs, or in this case depth charges, are cranked out as they would be prior to an attack on a submarine. Normally they would be stowed in the racks, and the hatches marked parachute exit would be tightly shut. These doubled as one of the escape routes for the crew if the aircraft had to be abandoned. Now walk to the rear of the aircraft. Mind your head as you go through the low doorway and up the staircase. You're now in the bomb compartment. High on both sides, you can see the bomb racks where up to 1 ton of bombs. The floor in this area gently rises towards the tail of the aircraft. The figure you can see is the rear gunner, and behind him is the rear turret. Opposite the exit door is a small workbench and vise. This is in fact part of the standard fitting of the aircraft, so when minor repairs to equipment became necessary, they could be carried out in flight. If you look each side of the aircraft, you can see 2 large hatches. These are the waist gun positions and held .5-inch Browning machine guns. By late 1943, Sunderland aircraft carried as many as 18 defensive guns, earning it the nickname the Flying Porcupine. Look towards the upper deck and you can see right through the aircraft to the cockpit windows. This completes your visit to the RAF Museum Sunderland Flying Boat. We hope you've enjoyed it.